Welcome to my video. Today I want to talk to you about why you didn't achieve your goals this year. That makes it sound like I'm scolding you. Like, hey, why didn't you achieve your goals this year? You said that you wanted to do this thing and the whole year has gone by and you haven't done it. What's wrong with you? But I swear I am not scolding you. If anything, I'm honestly scolding myself because I can relate to this. And I think that most people can relate to this idea of setting a goal in January of a year and then December rolls around and you haven't accomplished that thing. But at the same time, I've had a really incredible year and I actually have accomplished so many of the goals that I've set out to accomplish. So today I want to talk about how you can set yourself up for success as you're starting to think about your goals for next year and how you can really set yourself up so that you can actually achieve them and actually accomplish the things that you say you want to accomplish. Because it's that time of year where everyone is really starting to think about goal setting. You know, it's December as I'm filming this and I'm going to publish it hopefully in the next week. And I think that a lot of people are starting to reflect on the goals that they had set at the beginning of this year. You know, which ones did they accomplish? Which ones didn't they accomplish? And we're starting to look forward into the future, into 2023, to see what kind of goals we want to set for next year and how we want to improve our lives. I feel like this is something that pretty much everyone does. So that is why I have made a list. These are the things, these are the reasons that I've identified that make it really difficult to accomplish your goals. And my hope is that by identifying these specific factors, we can recognize when we're falling into these traps and we can start to shift into creating goals that actually set ourselves up for success. Number one reason why you didn't realize your goals this year is that they were too vague. They were too big and nebulous, and they were really lacking in specificity. So for an example of this, you might have had the goal to make more money. I think that that's a really common one. Make more money. But what does that even mean? What is more money? You could sell someone a bottle of water and make $1 and you've made more money. Does that mean you've accomplished your goal? No, obviously not. I don't think most of you watching this are trying to make $1 more. I don't even know if that's necessarily worth setting as a goal. That makes me sound so privileged, but I really don't think anyone has the goal of making $1. Most likely you want to make a lot more money, but that's still not specific enough. A lot more money is still not really a specific goal at all. It's very vague. And the reason that it can be so valuable to set specific goals is, well, it's twofold actually. One of the reasons is so that we can actually measure our success. We can know when we've accomplished the goal because we have a specific number in mind or a specific parameter in mind. Regardless of what the goal is, there's probably something that is measurable that you can set as your marker of success. The other reason, though, that I don't think a lot of people really talk about why it's so valuable to have specific goals is because of the way that our unconscious mind works. Or is it our subconscious mind? To be honest, I don't really know the difference between subconscious and unconscious mind. If you know the difference, maybe comment below and let me know. Or I could just Google it. But the point is, one thing that most people don't really realize is that over 90% of our actions are actually completely influenced by our subconscious/unconscious mind. It's not the things that we're thinking about on the surface. So the reason that this is relevant is because on the surface, we can have the goal to make more money, and that makes sense to us from a logical perspective. We know what more money is. We know about how much more money we want to make. We can understand that goal in a very logical way, but really your unconscious mind is what actually dictates your actions on a day-to-day basis. And if your unconscious mind doesn't really understand that goal, then you're not going to be able to take action towards it. So when it comes to making goals that actually work with your subconscious, it can be so valuable to kind of think about it like you're explaining it to a child. You don't just want to make more money, you want to make this specific amount of money and for these specific reasons too. And really supplying a lot of information so that your brain actually has something to work with. And the reason that this is so valuable is because when you have those specific parameters, it becomes so much easier for your subconscious mind to actually start to recognize opportunity when it presents itself. So if you have the goal of making an extra $1,000, you will start to find ways to make that extra $1,000 in your life. But if your goal is just make more money, your mind is not necessarily going to be automatically looking for those opportunities, and it'll be a lot more difficult for you to recognize when those opportunities are literally staring you in the face. Okay, so you want to have specific goals, but how do you actually define those parameters, right? So this actually leads into the next reason why you may have had difficulty achieving your goals, which is that they're not emotionally charged or they're not intrinsically motivating. And this kind of relates to the first point, because I think what often happens when people read about SMART goals, for example, and they see that they want to have specific goals and measurable goals, what they do is they'll kind of pick an arbitrary number. I think if we're going to continue with the example of making more money, one of the really arbitrary numbers that people will pick is making $10,000 a month or making 6 figures a year. These are really, really common goals. These are common ideas, especially if you're in the entrepreneur space as an online business owner like I am. You see these numbers all the time, these very specific numbers. And it can be easy to think that that is enough to have a specific goal. But really, those numbers are still kind of arbitrary. Like, why is it $10,000 instead of $9,000 or $11,000? Is there actually a reason? Why do you want that number? And so this is what I mean by your goals are not emotionally charged. You don't actually have any emotional connection to your goals. You don't have any reason that you want to accomplish them. It's just an arbitrary goal that you've set for yourself because maybe you think that's what you're supposed to want. Maybe every other entrepreneur wants to make 6 figures, so I should want to make 6 figures too. But I think that it can actually be so much more powerful to actually have emotion attached to your goals, because that acts as an intrinsic motivation when you're doing those day-to-day tasks that can be kind of a slog. You have this thing that you can always go back to. This is why I'm trying to do what I'm trying to do. But if you don't have that emotional attachment, it becomes very easy to procrastinate. It becomes very easy to not actually do the hard things because at the end of the day, you don't actually care. And I think that this actually happens a lot, especially with the influence of social media. And so it can be helpful to really ask yourself the hard questions like, what do I actually want my everyday life to look like, to feel like? What do I value? What do I actually care about? What do I actually want to do? Not just what you think sounds nice or not what you see other people doing to make them happy. What makes you happy? I feel like these are such valuable questions that people don't often ask themselves. Okay, so the next reason that you might not have accomplished your goals this year, you were focusing too much on your goal. Okay, now that one is not going to sound like it makes any sense, so let me explain. What I mean by this is that you're spending all of your time focusing on the end result that you want. You're focusing on what you get to have instead of focusing on what you get to do. And so I think it can be really, really helpful to shift the perspective of your goals as you're writing them down, as you're actually planning out your actions. Shift the perspective. Instead of what you want to have and what you want to have achieved, focus on what you want to create and what you want to do. So to give you a concrete example, just to make sure I'm explaining this well, I'll talk about one of my own goals. I would love to have 10,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel next year. And if you want to help me with that goal, you can press that subscribe button down below. That sounded like such a pitch, but That is one of my goals. I want to have that amount of subscribers. And I think it's very common to structure your goals in that way. I want to have 10,000 YouTube subscribers, 10,000 Instagram followers. I want to gain 1,000 followers a month. It's very easy to structure our goals in this way, but what can actually be way more beneficial is to shift the focus of your goal to, I want to create 2 YouTube videos a week. I want to share 1 blog post a week. I want to launch this specific product. I think that when you actually break it down into the things that will lead you to your goals and then shift your perspective so that you're always focusing on those, it becomes a lot more natural to actually take action versus if you just have the goal of, I want to gain 1,000 subscribers this month. It is really difficult to break that down in our minds. And theoretically, yes, we know like creating more videos is how you accomplish that. But if in the back of your mind, the goal that you're focusing on is what you're gaining, you're always going to feel like you're not accomplishing it. Versus if your goal is to create a video and post a video once a week or however many times, you actually have more control over that. You can do that. You can actually take that action and accomplish that goal on a regular basis. And you start to build momentum that way, and you start to get these dopamine hits because you're constantly accomplishing your goals. I actually shared a post on my Instagram not too long ago talking about this exact thing. Basically saying, what if we measured our success by our actions instead of just focusing on our results? I don't know about you, but to me, that seems a whole lot more motivating because I actually have control over my actions. And as we all know, your actions is what leads to your results. So eventually you will accomplish the end result that you're aiming for. But really, it can be so much more intrinsically motivating to measure your success by becoming the type of person who does those things. The next reason why you might not have accomplished your goals this year is because you were spending a lot of time trying to make it easier. Basically, you were trying to outsmart your brain. What this often looks like is trying to figure out how to overcome procrastination or trying to find the perfect strategy to start the thing that you want to start. Trying to do all of this research to figure out how to make it easier, how to make it more manageable, how to stick to a routine. Tell me if this sounds familiar at all, because these are very, very popular topics, especially on YouTube in like the productivity world. And the thing about that's so funny is that itself is a form of procrastination. You're literally procrastinating by researching how to stop procrastinating. The truth is not something that people often want to hear, but the truth is that you just have to do the thing. Sometimes you just have to force yourself to do the thing. And when people hear the word force, I think that there's a lot of resistance that comes up, especially because generally speaking, our society has kind of shifted away from hustle culture and that very like masculine, forceful energy that was very popular not too long ago. Just a couple of years ago, that hustle, girl boss kind of culture was the standard. And I think that because that went so hard, there's now this resistance to that idea of hustle, and it's becoming increasingly more popular to talk about soft, feminine energy and going with the flow and receiving instead of chasing. And I think that the piece that a lot of people are often missing is that you need both. You need a balance of masculine and feminine energy in order to be a balanced and successful version of yourself. You need that masculine forcefulness sometimes, and you also, need to relax and take it easy and receive sometimes. And I don't think that it's beneficial to lean too hard into either camp. I kind of went off on a tangent there for a bit, but the point is, it is not always a bad thing to force yourself to just take action. Often what happens is once you force yourself to do something, it becomes a lot easier. And I feel kind of hypocritical saying that because this whole point was you should stop trying to make it easier. But really what happens a lot of the time is that when you do the hard thing, it becomes easier because you did it. You start taking action, and that is what builds momentum, and you start getting practice, and that's what makes you better at something. Building up that experience is how you actually learn, not just by doing, endless research and going down rabbit holes and planning everything ahead of time in order to outsmart your brain and set yourself up without ever actually taking action. You need a bit of both. You need to have that balance. And the other point that I really wanted to make was sometimes things are just gonna be hard. And that's okay. You can let things be hard. Sometimes you will take action and you won't build up that momentum, and it'll still be hard for a while. Maybe every time. Like, say for example, you have the goal of wanting to work out more, and it's hard and you don't like it, and you keep waiting for it to get easier, and it never seems to get easier. What if it can just be hard? If your goal is really that important to you, you can do the hard thing. If you want to figure out how to actually create aligned goals for yourself, I'm gonna have a freebie linked down in the description below called Vision Work. And it's gonna be a series of journal prompts that can help you really clarify how to come up with those aligned goals that actually make sense for your values and your vision for your life. So if you're interested in that, it's totally free. It's going to be linked down in the description, and I really think that it'll help you. Okay, that is all for today. Bye.